They've tried being flashy. They've tried being fast. And for a while, it looked like it was working. Miami had swagger, a coach with creative guts, weapons everywhere, and numbers that made the league take notice. But now nobody's fooled. The rest of the NFL knows exactly what happens when December hits. The spark dims. The Dolphins crack. It doesn't matter how electric the start of the season feels. The script repeats itself. September and October? Explosive. Highlights for days. Then come the tougher, colder games. The ones that actually decide who belongs in the postseason. And that's where Miami fades. Not in silence, but in a familiar collapse that no longer surprises. And that's where Tyreek Hill draws the line. He's not just catching passes anymore. He's grabbing the mic and throwing it down. Because here's the truth. Hill's not interested in riding out another season full of noise and no result. He sees what this team is capable of. He also sees what it refuses to become. And that disconnect, it's eating at him. He said it loud. This team has to evolve. Not the playbook. Not the formation packages. The mentality. That's the part that's been weak. That's the part that's gotten exposed. Again and again, when the season reaches that do-or-die phase. They're built to sprint, but not to last. They're ready for the lights, but not for the mud. You can have all the speed in the world, but what good is it if you get shoved around when the stakes rise? When the crowd's against you, when your breath fogs up in front of your face, when it's 4th and 2 and nobody cares about how fast you ran a 40-yard dash back in camp. Hill knows that. He's not talking about effort. He's talking about edge. And the Dolphins haven't had it when it counts. Since Mike McDaniel came in 2022, there's been undeniable growth. You see it in the schemes, in the explosiveness, in how much more dynamic the offense looks. But there's a blind spot, a dangerous one. This team has been unable to transform into a force that endures, a team that plays the same way in January as it does in September. And that's exactly what's keeping them stuck in this cycle. Look at the record, 21 wins across September to November. But when December arrives, it shifts. 7 wins, 12 losses, postseason, winless. Those numbers, they sting. Not because they're stats, but because they prove something that the locker room's been trying to deny. That this version of the Dolphins can't close, can't finish, can't dominate when it matters most. That's the part Hill can't accept. And if there's one player on this roster who won't just talk about change, but drag it out of the walls if he has to, it's him. Remember the noise around him last season? Rumors swirling about a possible exit. Tension between him and the staff. The whispers were loud, but nothing came of it. Hill stayed, doubled down. Now, he's not just part of the locker room. He's trying to reshape it. His bond with McDaniel? It didn't start smooth. He said it himself. At first, it was strange. But now it's built. Strong. Real. And he's not shy in giving credit. The offensive creativity, the freedom to move, the chances to break defenses from all angles, that's McDaniel's stamp. That's what helped Hill go over 1,700 yards in back-to-back seasons. Not luck. Not just talent. Design. But talent only takes you to the gate. What happens when you get there and the gate doesn't open? That's the Dolphins' reality. They can draw up brilliance on the whiteboard. But when the field gets rough and the air turns sharp and the other team is playing like their season's on the line, Miami hasn't matched that fire. And that's where Hill wants to see the shift. He's not waiting for someone else to say it. He's dragging the truth into the open. Because pretending this team just needs better health or cleaner play calls is a lie. What it needs is steel in the gut. Consistency that doesn't depend on the calendar. You can feel it. He's not just talking to the media. He's talking to his teammates, to the coaches, to every person in that building who's gotten used to early season praise and late season disappointment. And he's daring them to be uncomfortable, to change how they work, to shift how they see themselves, to stop thinking they'll fix it in time and start fixing it now. That's what great teams do. They don't wait for the pressure. They train for it. So the question becomes, will Miami listen? Will they take the hit and answer back? Because nothing less will be enough. The AFC is ruthless. Nobody's handing out respect for highlights. You want to matter in January? You better be willing to go through fire to get there. And that fire doesn't come from stats. It comes from belief. built in the off-season when no one's watching. It comes from getting up after you've been knocked down and refusing to be the same. That's the kind of change Hill is screaming for, not with volume, but with purpose.